Hi guys, I'm Lisa. And I'm Natasha. Are you free for coffee? Okay, guys, so we are loving having guests. And today's guest is kind of like near and dear to me. And so this is someone who was ironically my neighbor as a kid. Just life brings you on a roller coaster and you see people again. So we are going to have Stephanie today, and she is the Diabetes Maven. You can find her on Pinterest, and we'll be sure to share all of her links where you can contact her. And just, I guess, in honor of Hot Girl Summer, we're going to talk about staying healthy and healthy snacks, things that are not going to spike your blood sugar and take you in the wrong direction.
Okay, Stephanie. So tell
Hey.
us about the Diabetes Maven. Just tell us what your
Mission.
business is,
Yeah.
your mission, what you're trying to do, how you can help people.
Yes. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I started Diabetes Maven not too long ago, actually, as I was trying to figure out how can I help more people as I'm talking to friends and family, and they're just like, what? I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And so as I'm thinking about, okay, what can I bring to the world? And me, I was diagnosed myself with diabetes actually a few years ago, and it runs in my family. And so I just thought, why not call it Diabetes Maven, catering to women? The whole mission is to arm women with tools to conquer diabetes once and for all. And I made sure to include that once and for all because I think so many people, they think that I had this illness and it's going to be forever. I won't ever get rid of it. I will never be able to eat sugar. I can't eat. And they just feel like their life is over almost.
Okay.
Yes, I have diabetes too.
Oh, okay.
I had gestational diabetes, which, I mean, they kind of tell you like you're probably going to get it later,
Right.
when you have
Yes.
that. And with that, I controlled it strictly with diet and lifestyle. And then when I was diagnosed with just regular diabetes, I could not control it just with that.
Yeah.
So I do remember feeling, especially the first time, kind of, it's like you have to think about food, before you just eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's go to wherever, and you just have what you want.
And then you have to put some thought into it.
Right. Like,
Right.
okay, I need
And-
to have
yeah.
this and I can't do that. And, if I'm
And
going to
most
have
of us we don't really think about how food affects us. I think especially here in America versus if you go to Europe, right? There are a lot more regulations. And I remember being in college and eating certain foods and I would feel very shaky after. And I knew inherently because I was in nursing school, I'm a nurse practitioner, and I remember thinking, okay, this is my blood sugar that spiked and now it's really low. Although I didn't have diabetes at that time, I knew inherently that eventually my pancreas is going to conk out if I keep eating like that.
Right. Right.
But did I do something about it? No, I did not.
Well, that's American. That's just American
That's
eating for
everybody.
you,
And then
honestly.
that's
Yeah.
the
It is. And
folly of
it's,
youth.
there are actually 37 million people in America have diabetes, and about 1 in 5 don't even know that they have it. And
And many more have pre-diabetes, right?
I would
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
even more have prediabetes. And for me, it was a wake up call, especially for this year, for me to really start paying attention to my health because I went to my OBGYN or gynecologist, and she's the one that actually discovered that I had a high insulin because a few years before that, I felt really dizzy and my nails were really brittle. My hair was falling out. And I was like, what is wrong with me? So I go and I had anemia, but it led to other blood work that she saw that, hey, you have something that looks like PCOS. And
Okay.
I've always suspected that I had PCOS. And for those that don't know, it's polycystic ovary syndrome. Usually people have problems having babies and they have acne and they're very hairy. So I had all of that except problems having babies. So I just never thought that I had PCOS, and no one's ever looked at me and said, "Yeah, you look like you have PCOS, right?" And so at that moment, I thought, okay, I have to do something about this. This is something that I feel like God gave me a window into my metabolism and my hormones to say, hey, this is crucial. You need to do something about it. And so from that point, I started doing a lot of research about insulin resistance, PCOS, diabetes, and I stumbled upon the obesity code and diabetes code. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Dr. Fung, but it's a whole
Oh.
movement, and it's
Okay.
an
So
excellent
is it
book.
a code to break it, or like what does
Yes,
that mean? Okay.
that was the first time that I actually heard diabetes reversal. And even still, it's a controversial word in the medical community because it's like, you can't reverse diabetes.
So
And
what is the code? Can you kind of, in layman's
yeah,
terms?
so for him, Dr. Fung specifically, Dr. Fung really talks about fasting. Okay.
Okay.
And so if you have diabetes, if you have PCOS, all of those things are hormonal, right? You have a high rate of insulin. And when you have lots of insulin hanging around in your blood, it can't get into the cells. It can't do what it's supposed to do in the cells. So insulin really acts like a key. Okay. When you eat something, um, your food gets broken down to sugar, and insulin opens that cell door so that glucose can go into the cell and do whatever cells do, brain, heart, all of that. And if for some reason the signal is distorted, insulin starts raising and it's high in your blood. Glucose is also high in your blood. Nothing's doing anything. And so his theory is that if you fast for sometimes it's 12, 14, 16 hours a day, then your body is forced into using the storage that you already have on board, the fat storage, the glucose storage, all of that. And so that's where you get into the ketogenic diet. He doesn't call it keto because, that's a buzzword, and keto has a whole a whole issue of problems too. But essentially you're basically moving your body into a temporary starvation mode, right?
So, okay, what does that look like? So 12
So,
hours, that would mean like if you stop eating at 7, you don't eat
mhm,
again till 7 the next morning.
exactly. And you
Okay.
really have to play around with it. And so that's when I first started like, okay, I'm going to try this fasting thing. And I can tell you that it was very hard. You don't think about, hey, I'm going to eat at 8. I'm going to eat, especially in America. We can go to our kitchen and just get food. And so
Right.
we're kind of eating when we want to eat. And you don't really take note of the time that you're eating, the time frame between your meals. And so it's just like we're always really full. You don't ever allow your body to really
That is true.
use the fat that's already stored or the glucose that's already stored. And if you think about hunter gatherers, right, when they actually had to go and hunt their food, they had some time in between because they're not just going to a fridge or the pantry to eat their food, right?
Yeah, and
And
they're burning
so
calories to obtain their food. I didn't even
exactly.
think about that.
Yeah. And so for me, I just started saying, okay, I'm going to stop eating around 7 or 8 p.m. and then delay breakfast. You have to be careful with fasting because if you fast for too long, then it does set your body into a starvation mode and they start holding on to fat. Your body is very smart that way. God created our body exactly how it's supposed to function. And so you really have to kind of play around with it. For me, the later that you eat, the more insulin is actually going to be produced. And I don't know if
Mm.
you've heard people like, oh, you should eat a high, like really your lunchtime meal should be your fattiest meal. Should be, if you're going to eat carbs that day, pick lunchtime. Because the later in the day that you're eating carbs, your body is more apt to hold on to that even more.
That makes sense.
That
That
does.
makes sense. Well,
Mhm.
I do stop eating, like dinner is it for me. Like I
Mhm.
have dinner and um I usually do have a little something sweet, like a protein bar, not like
Right.
real sweet,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that it satisfies, or a piece of fruit or something, and then I'm done. But you wake up hungry. You do
Yeah.
wake up hungry
Yeah.
when you do that,
Which I guess, but
because
if
you're
you think
not
about it, you
snacking.
need to because she's right. We don't usually during the day, at least, we don't get to true hunger.
No,
Yeah.
And I
no.
never thought about that.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
It
Well,
is.
I go 12. I'm gonna try the 14
I
though.
am
I'm gonna try
too.
to make it.
And
left.
sometimes it's a whole community and they actually do 24-hour fast, they do 48-hour fast, but it's not every day that you're doing that. But it's a whole science and it's just so interesting if you really think about the science of fasting and giving our body a break so that it can kind of reset and use what's on board. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have lots of insulin on board. I need to get rid of it. How am I going to get rid of that insulin? I'm going to fast and also exercise is a huge part of it.
So, but
So,
beside the fasting,
mhm.
what is a tip? Like some kind of a nutritional tip that you can just give our listeners to help them manage their blood sugar levels? Like, is there maybe like a snack or a just give us a tip. I don't really know. Just tell us something that you found is helpful in terms of nutrition.
The most important thing I would tell anyone that has diabetes around your eating, it's going to be important to incorporate protein with every single meal. I would even advocate for every snack that you eat. So protein really helps stabilize your blood sugar because it's going to take a lot longer to digest. And so I've also
Give us some. What are some protein heavy foods that you recommend?
so I am a big fan of nuts.
Okay.
Almonds, walnuts, trail mix are really good, but you just have to find one that's low sugar because a lot of them have the fruit that's dipped in sugar. So you have
Right.
to be
Or
careful.
even dried fruit is kind of sugary.
Dried
Yeah.
fruit,
Doesn't have sugar in it
But
per
it
it
is
doesn't
se,
have
but it
somehow
sugar
should
in it.
be.
sugary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sugary. So you have to be careful with that. But they also have so many good snacks. And I just find things that it says keto on it. And you can just look at the ingredients. So there's some really good keto snacks that I get from Costco, and they come individually packaged, and they have little pieces of dried, hydrated cheese in there and nuts, and they're so good. And so I just kind of carry those around. String cheese is really good
Yes.
as
Okay.
well. That's my go-to. So whenever I feel hungry in between meals, I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat protein first, as opposed to like I used to. And I say used to, this was back in December, right? This is very recent when I'm really paying attention to what I'm eating. Um, you say all these little snacks that you get for your kids, the granola bars and all of that good stuff. They have lots of sugar in there, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah.
So anything that you can pair with, if you want to eat that, that's fine, but maybe pair it with protein, and that will help as well. If you just eat something sugary by itself, then it's going to spike. But
That's a
the
good
eating it
tip.
That
with
is a good.
So
That
protein,
just
is.
coupling that with
even
protein
our
will help
snacks make them
stabilize it.
protein heavy. And then with our meals, do you suggest the same thing, like have a lot of protein in the meal?
Yes, you definitely want more protein and complex carbs. And when I say complex carbs, those are going to be your broccoli, right? Bell pepper, all of those good things. Carrots and corn are not really, they're going to be more starchy. So they're going to affect your blood sugar more so than broccoli would be. Um, Things like that.
Okay.
So you want to make
Those
sure
are good
Those are
tips.
great tips.
So
you don't
is it
want to mix
true?
it up
This is
like
just
that.
my little, I'm curious. So I
Mhm.
try to avoid heavy starches sometimes because doesn't that just break down and turn into sugar, or is that not true?
That is absolutely true. So everything that we eat really ends up being used as glucose. Everything. Okay. And I think that's a lot of people may not understand that, but you have simple carbohydrates and then complex. So a potato, for instance, is going to be broken down a lot faster than a sweet potato, right? Because it just depends on the carbohydrates and the complexity of it. But the lower, the more fiber that it has, like the broccoli, it's going to be broken down a lot slower because it has more fiber. So your body is just going to, if that makes sense, just work on it harder than it does a simple protein. Like if you just drink a soda, for instance, right? You're just drinking straight sugary water.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's really what it is.
You
so you're
don't really
saying
have
sweet
to work
potato
hard
is
to
good,
break that
and
down.
what's a good carb? A good
Oh
carb
yeah, give us
that we
three
can
good
have.
carbs
So
actually.
sweet potato, we know is one. What's a couple others?
Okay, well, you can do. Quinoa is another one. It is carbs,
Yes.
but it's a good it's a good carb.
Lisa doesn't like quinoa, but I love it.
I like one
I'm gonna
quinoa
make it for you.
recipe. What's the name of that? Is it Start?
I don't
You
know.
know that recipe? I mean that
I just
that
like quinoa.
restaurant Start, I believe it is.
Oh.
In East Dallas. Maybe they're not there anymore.
I don't know.
Well, they have a quinoa salad, and I have the recipe.
I'm gonna make you some quinoa,
really good,
and see if you like it.
But just quinoa is not my jam.
But you like brown rice.
I mean, I don't
It's
hate
terrible.
it needs just a lot.
Brown
Which
rice
does
brown
too?
rice? No. White rice is amazing. It's terrible for me. Brown rice is the devil.
Really?
I hate it.
I don't like brown rice at all. I prefer it.
But I love quinoa.
I don't like brown rice either. And I have to be honest, quinoa is not like something I'd be like, yeah, I'm craving quinoa, you know, but
really?
No, I'm not gonna crave it, but
I do.
I use it. I use it instead of
this recipe. It's a quinoa salad with broccoli and tomato and onion and feta and like a real lemony vinaigrette, and it's amazing.
So yeah, and just for our listeners, because I can think of 3 listeners that comment that they're gonna love this episode because like low sugar has been something they've commented on our post before. We're gonna post the books. I'm gonna post a link to find her. If you go to our Pink Pal, there'll be links to get to Stephanie and all of her information because that'll be the Pink Pal July. Which how are we already here? This year's passing so fast. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have sweet potatoes, quinoa, and we need one more.
Brown rice.
You can actually, brown rice is another one. There's so many different ones. You just have to think about white bread versus whole wheat, right? You're going to go for the whole wheat bread as opposed to the white bread because it's going to take longer for your body to process that. So the longer it takes your body to process it, the less ingredients that it has, the better for you. Okay. And I will never be, that's another reason why I started Diabetes Maven, because I think a lot of people, they just think I can't ever eat carbs. I can't even eat sugar ever. And I'm with the mindset that you can incorporate any of your favorite foods, but you just have to know that you can't eat it every single day. You can't eat it for every meal.
Yes.
And I think I had to come to that realization, you know, like, okay, if I'm eating Chick-fil-A several times a week and it's fried and my body didn't really like it either, I didn't feel good. I felt sluggish afterwards. You have to start making some changes. And just looking at the ingredients and paying attention is half the battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can get less ingredients, it's going to be more whole and your body is going to like it and you're going to have more energy.
Total sense.
That does.
Now, what about exercise? Is there a specific type of exercise that you recommend or that's more beneficial for somebody with diabetes or trying to manage blood sugar, or any exercise, or what do you?
Yes, any type of exercise is going to be great. Any one that actually gets your heart rate up and you're sweating a little bit. I have my favorite apps that I use, Peloton and another one called HIIT, which is, you know, the high intensity interval training burn. It's an app. And I can only tolerate 30 minutes of exercise at a time. Like, I'm not ever going to be one of these people that are exercising for an hour. I have a hard time doing classes because they last an hour. And I'm like, I have things to do. I don't have time to be exercising all day. And I think that if you really incorporate, even if it's 10 minutes, even after you eat if you commit to doing 10 minutes a day, your body will thank you. And not only will you enjoy that, you'll want to do more, because the more that you exercise, you're burning the insulin, you're burning fat, and you're burning sugar. So if you eat that meal, like if you say, I'm going to go out to a Mexican food restaurant this Friday, I know that I'm going to do that. And I'm going to have salsa. I'm going to have chips. I'm going to have enchiladas. It's going to be greasy. It's going to be good. Go for a walk afterwards and you will feel so much better as opposed to going home and sitting and watching TV. If you just committed to 10 to 15 minute walk after especially a high carb meal, you're helping your body burn what you just ate a little bit, right?
Okay.
So it's not building up.
I'm going to say, I know sometimes I struggle with remembering, oh, what about this app or what about that app? And if you if you're listening to us, then you probably have Instagram, you probably have all of that. A great person who has all levels. Actually, Lisa probably has a recommend on this one as well. But I love Grow with Joe. Grow with
Oh,
Joe has
it's
all
a yoga.
levels. No, no,
Long.
no, no.
Oh,
That's she
oh,
has some
okay.
HIIT workouts. She has some stretching, some yoga. She has low intensity. She has like if you had need to do chair exercise, she just has all of them. She's
Everything.
always not overly like not that fake positive, but she radiates as really real. They're easy to follow, and most of them are 30 minutes or less.
Yes.
And so I like her.
I love Lucy Wyndham Reed.
Yes, that's her name.
And she's on Instagram and TikTok, and she has a YouTube channel, and she has everything from like 3 minutes to 30 something, and that's what I love about her, because there's some days you're so busy, you
Mhm.
find it hard to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
So my feeling is, okay, I just have 5 minutes, but really, with exercise, consistency is the
I
key,
agree.
not so much
Yes.
intensity. So I've noticed a change in my body just doing it every day,
Yeah.
just doing something every
Mhm.
day. And I've done it a few years with her now. And I love it. She's got
She has
great,
thousands.
oh my gosh, thousands. And then, she targets things, you can do arms, legs, waist,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So she's a good one. She does even indoor walking, which is
Yes.
kind of
So does
cool.
okay. So walking is my jam. For
Mhm.
some of the listeners, I may find a before photo, y'all. This was the only time I was not photogenic. So I wrestled in high school, which most of you know if you've listened for any amount of time. I was the first female wrestler for Dallas Independent School District, which is huge. It's a huge district. So I was in the shape of my life. I've always been really active. I went to college, dated someone I certainly should not have, really abusive relationship, and I got up to 308 pounds. I remember not feeling well. I went to the doctor and you have to step on the scale and I just remember everything blurring. I thought this is impossible. Like what do you mean? I can run 7 miles. I've wrestled. I've went to state. But it was real and I lost weight by just walking.
Oh yeah.
Everybody kept, what did you do? I was like, I couldn't do anything. Like everything hurt. I just
Yeah.
put on headphones. That
You
was
don't,
back when you
you
had
don't
MP3
need
players.
equipment.
No
You
one
don't
has those
need,
anymore, but
you can
yeah,
just
I just
go.
walked. And so she has Grow with Joe has really good indoor walking.
Both of those
Yeah,
do.
they both
Both of
do.
those do. So that's it.
So
If people like that, that's cool.
yeah, that's my
And
appeal.
Lucy Wyndham Reed is from England, so she does a lot of walking, like sightseeing type,
Yes, she
which is
does.
so cool. Like she's in Paris, she's in Rome, she's in wherever, and
Yes.
so you get to see everything. She's walking, and you walk with her, and that's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah, there are just so
Now,
many good things. I think the main takeaway is just find something that you're interested in. Walking is highly underrated and it's one of the best things because it's easy to do. You can walk your dogs 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then also weights, incorporating those weights are going to be really important because when you build muscle, your body actually uses more insulin and glucose with that.
oh, that's a good tip.
Okay, that just blew my mind.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I did know that. Okay, Stephanie,
Mhm.
there's in the news lately, we've heard all about Ozempic and Rybelsus in terms of weight
Yeah.
loss and dealing with blood sugar levels. What's your take on it? Does it work? Is everybody a candidate for it? What do you feel about it?
I am super excited about these medications. And full disclosure, I have used 3 of those medicines. And I started off doing Ozempic on this program last year and I was so excited. I was like, "Yes, I'm going to be smaller. I'm going to lose my weight." And nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I'm like, "Why is everyone else having success and I am not?" Right? And I purposefully only did the medicine and did not change my diet on purpose because I wanted to see is this
Right.
Yeah.
going to work for me, and it didn't. Then I switched to Wegovy, and that's when I first started seeing some weight, very small, come off. And then insurance wouldn't pay for it anymore because they preferred Ozempic and whatever. The whole insurance is a whole nother podcast story. But
Sure is.
So then I stopped Wegovy, and then I was like, you know what? It's going to be up to me to do the changes that I'm going to have to make. And then I went on vacation last year, and I just threw all caution to the wind and did whatever I wanted to do. And I gained some weight, and I'm like, I actually my hormones were so dysregulated. I started not having a cycle. And I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, am
wow.
I going through menopause? What's happening? And then I go to my doctor, and she was like, didn't you know that if your blood sugars are crazy, that your menstruation is going to be affected? I had
Oh,
no
I
idea.
didn't know
I had
that.
no idea.
Okay. This
I
is
did
this is going to
not
help a lot
know
of
that.
people.
It
Cuz I'm
is.
thinking of two people specifically that have always had trouble with having a regular cycle, but
Mhm.
their blood sugar is banana, like it's just up,
Yes,
down, and all over the place, and maybe that's why.
that could be
Wow.
why. And so I had no idea. Here I am, a nurse practitioner. Okay. I'm like, I didn't know this. Why isn't anyone talking about this? And so then they put me on birth control pills to try to regulate. I'm like, I don't like birth control pills. I don't want to be on this. And so when I went up to my next follow-up appointment, I actually saw the doctor as opposed to the nurse practitioner. Again, nothing wrong with that. She just doesn't know me like my doctor does, because I've always seen my doctor. And she yelled at me. She was like, you need to do this. And I was offended at first. I was like, oh my gosh, she's yelling at me, you know? But then that's exactly what I needed to say, okay, enough is enough. I need to get serious about this.
Mm.
Even though we don't feel like, when you're sick, you have a cold, you have a sinus infection, you feel it. With diabetes, you don't necessarily feel anything, but your organs are being damaged every time your blood sugars are out of whack. And that's something for me, especially seeing my dad lose a couple of toes. He lost his eyesight a little bit. I'm like, okay, I need to take this seriously. So that's when I really
Me too. I
started.
know people who
Yeah.
have.
So many people.
It's a
It
serious
is. And I
thing.
think by the time you feel stuff, I always tell, I mean, totally different medical field, but I tell my clients, once you feel sick, you're not sitting in front of me anymore, because I
Yeah,
really can't help you. You're going to
right.
be in the ER. You're going to be with a specialist. You're going to be in our building. You're going to be downstairs.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
don't want to be downstairs, because once
right.
you're downstairs, I can't
Whole
help you.
nother
I
level.
can't do anything for you. So yeah, I think it's highly important. I know my husband and we've decided we have to get really serious. I think what's played in my favor is I've always been very, very strong. So I've always had a lot of muscle. But having 4 pregnancies in 5.5, 6 years, I don't.
It
I
changes.
it changed
Things change.
everything. And so I was like, oh, I have to like really work to lose this weight now. This is
Yeah.
not a game. So I drink a ton of water. I don't know how, but my blood sugar, just honestly, the grace of God, my blood sugar stays really good, but my husband's is not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to quit playing with this. You better.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing to play with. It's a serious thing.
It's serious. And so
Stephanie,
actually in January, I started on Manjaro because I'm like,
and
okay,
that's working for you.
and it has worked. It has really,
Okay.
really worked. And I will go for my follow-up A1C. But in our minds, I think for me specifically, I'm one of those people that are like, no, I'm not taking medication for anything. I'm going to do it on my own. And even for so long, I didn't want to take metformin because I was at that time pre-diabetic. And she was like, well, this is how we kind of treat PCOS. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take it. I want to just try it on my own. And that didn't really help. And I think we just have to go ahead and get the support that we need. We still have to eat healthy. We still have to exercise. The medication's not a savior by any stretch of the imagination. It's just something that's there, a tool to
It
help
gives you
us.
a jump start, and I think once you
Mhm.
see the weight start coming off and you feel better, it
Yeah.
motivates
It
you
yes.
Yeah.
to do better
Now
and
I'll
to
be
get
honest, that's
to
why I
eat
wanted it.
right. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people.
No, that was my only thing. My joints just, and part of that is all of your joints spreading to give birth to babies,
Yeah.
back for me, back to back to back. It's a lot. And I thought I need to do this to lose some weight to help my joints. And then
Yeah.
like, I'm done, because I actually do like working out. I'm one of those weird people that an hour and a half later, I'm like, I guess I'm going to go see my family now.
But for those that don't, like me, that's where the 5 minutes, the 3 minutes,
Yeah.
the 10 minutes.
It helps you build up.
Yeah. And you can put a couple of them together. There's so many varieties and things you can do. So both of those, we'll link
We
both
will.
of those sites. We will link all of Stephanie's info. And so next week, you guys, well, this week, if you're listening to this, it's this week. Pay attention to our Instagram. We'll have recipes and links and tips that Stephanie's given us. And we'll have a diabetic week. But up next, our picks for the sexiest man alive this week. But first, a message from our sponsor.
During hard times, it can get really difficult if you don't have anyone to talk to. Being alone with your thoughts can be an isolating feeling that can allow negativity to consume you.
This is why we are sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to.
There is a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network that gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with the therapist in under 48 hours.
Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can request a new therapist at no additional charge anytime.
Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. So many people use BetterHelp that they are currently recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states.
Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/free-for-coffee. That's betterhelp.com/free-for-coffee.
Okay, so are we letting guests go first, or how are we doing this?
Stephanie, do you have a sexiest man alive this week? Or you have
Yes,
to think about it?
I would have to choose Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, my kind of girl. I almost picked him today. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, he has been.
He has a reoccurring role in my fantasies.
Was he your number one? Usually, that's your crush.
Yes, I mean I have a few, but I think he wins. Texas, his accent, of course.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with Matthew McConaughey. It's impossible.
Okay,
Lisa, who do you have?
Well, I have one. We've picked him before, but I'm picking him again because he has a new series on Apple TV, which is Idris Elba, and the series is Hijack, which is kind of intense. I thought it was a movie, so I turned it on yesterday. Like, it's probably
it's
90
a series.
minutes, but it's a series. But it's very intense and kind of suspenseful, and he's always sexy. This is how you know it's fiction. In this series, I'm not giving this away. This is the first episode. The wife is with somebody else. So we know that's fiction, right?
Girl, okay. Yeah.
Like we don't know the circumstances, but he's been dumped.
Still.
And she has a new guy that really is not that cute at all. And so I'm thinking, this is like
this
fiction.
is fake. This is fake.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying it.
So your Apple TV made me switch my sexiest man alive. Because I started a show. Guys, when I do paperwork, that's the only time I watch TV because it plays in the background for me. But I love Seth Rogen, and I've loved him forever.
Oh, Kennedy, Platonic.
Platonic, yes.
Kennedy told me. Book Club Kennedy told me about it. And I saw one episode.
It's not what you think.
Okay.
It is not.
I couldn't kind of get into it.
I thought it was going to be all fluff.
She told me to go back.
Yeah, it's good. Okay. It's good. So Seth Rogen is my sexiest man alive. And I don't know if I've picked him.
No, we haven't picked him.
Well, he's been there in real life.
He is a cutie.
I love him.
He is. Apple TV is the jam, y'all.
It's doing really good.
It is. Ted Lasso,
Trying, Platonic. I mean, Shrinking was amazing.
Yes.
We've pulled some sexiest men alive from there. Yes. Apple TV is hitting, guys.
If you have an Apple phone, just FYI, y'all. If you have an Apple phone, you have Apple TV. They give it to you free.
Yes.
For like at least a
year, it's a year or two.
So check.
Yeah, and it's only like $3.99 a month, I think, if not.
And I have to add to your list really fast. You can't sleep on this comedian. His name is Matt Rife. He's not well known, but he's hilarious and he's pretty handsome.
What's his last name?
Matt Wright.
Rife. R-I-F-E. Look him up on Instagram.
Oh,
Okay.
hello, Matt.
I've never heard of
We're
him.
gonna find you.
We're gonna find
Yes.
him.
And we like laughs.
Yeah.
Okay. He may be my sexiest
Next week. Right.
Okay, loves, thank you for pulling up a chair and joining us for coffee. Please subscribe to Are You Free for Coffee podcast wherever you are listening. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, learned something new, and find joy in the little things. Until next time.
Part of the Boundless Audio Podcast Network.